Hey everyone, Yabapmatt here. Welcome to the Splinterlands Town Hall. It is Monday, October 23rd of 2023. Glad to be back with everyone. I've been talking to everyone a lot recently. We had the town square last Monday, and then we had the Rebellion pre-sale event on Wednesday. So we'll see how many questions there are here, but we may do a slightly shorter town hall than usual. Just because I feel like we've been updating and talking about this stuff with the community for a while. But that being said, if there's lots of questions, then we'll try to answer as many as we can in the time that we have. So we'll give more time back to the community on this one. Um, to start it off, we'll just do the quick status update of things. Obviously, the Rebellion presale launched last week. I think it's been going fantastically well. I had no expectations that it would sell out or sell out quickly, but I think getting through half of it in the first 24 hours was fantastic, and I think I guess it encourages me as far as my estimates overall uh, for the set, over the next year that it's going to be for sale, where I estimated between like 1.5 and 2 million total packs being sold. I think what we've seen in the pre-sale kind of indicates to me that that's a pretty reasonable estimate, and that would be great. That would be fantastic. That would definitely give the company what it needs. It'll give a ton of value to the DAO, which is already more than made up for the amount that Splinterlands asked for to help cover the cost of developing the set. So the DAO should make out really well in that scenario. Obviously, we've seen it be pretty effective so far with giving value to the DEC token, which is great. Um, and over time, that will eventually translate, hopefully, into value for the SPS token. Although, as I mentioned on last week's town hall, I expect that to take more time. It's gonna be a while before we get also over like the psychological mindset of everybody, of having point 0.9 whatever be seen as high for DEC pricing. Um, event we need to get over kind of like the hump where we have just more and more products that take DEC. Players are less hesitant to buy it at these prices because they've been so used to it being lower for a while. Once we get past that kind of hump, and it just takes time, and then there's significant demand coming into DEC as the price keeps rising. That's when the value starts switching over to SPS. So to me, this is a really good start of getting that going. But we as a company and organization, along with the community, are going to keep pushing that because we're just at the very start of getting that process to happen. Um, and as I'm sure most of you know, the Rebellion set release, when you'll be able to open the packs, get the cards, try out the new abilities and mechanics and everything, is still scheduled for December 5th. As we come up to that date, you're going to get more and more previews of the card stats. Eventually, everything will be up on the Mav server, a week or two before launch. So you'll get to see that start to trickle in, and hopefully build some excitement around that. And then, of course, land. We have not forgotten land. Farpatrod is still hard at work going through everything. There's just like so many things, but the goal that I have, and that we're going to work on, is to get land out in November, and that would probably, you know, likely be before Thanksgiving, maybe towards the end of the month after Thanksgiving. But I'd really like to get land 1.5 out, before the Rebellion, general sale and set launches. And just because those two things really work very hand in hand, right? Rebellion is a bunch of new cards. It's pushing Untamed out of Modern, and at the same time, Land is going to open up a lot of opportunity for Untamed and the older cards to come in and have a new use case. Also, the new Summoner Tactics mechanic that's part of Rebellion is a precursor to what items and spells are going to be like in the game. So I'm hoping that will also bring more excitement for Land and people to see, why they want to start getting their grain, why they want to start doing research toward the Secret of Praetoria project, and sort of, being in for the long term, not just looking at, SPS prices might be low now, so I'm not getting a great ROI, but it's more about the long term of, if you believe items and spells are really going to take this game to a whole nother level, which I believe they will, you're going to want to use land 1.5 as an opportunity to position yourself for that, or at least that's what I'm personally doing, right? So I'm going to go heavily into into research and the grain necessary for that, in order to well hopefully position myself very well for items and spells and all the other cool stuff that's coming in later phases of the land expansion. So it's going to be a pretty exciting rest of the year here for Splinterlands. I mean, two probably of our biggest, most major releases in the history of the game coming together within the span of a few months, is really exciting. We've seen some excitement in the general crypto market, which is always helpful to provide those tailwinds. So yeah, I mean, I look at this with a lot of hope, as we've come through a lot of crap to get here, and I'm hoping this is kind of like a springboard into a much better and more exciting future here going forward. So again, I just want to thank everybody here for their support. I mean, everyone who's here and still here. Most of you have been here for a long time, number of years at least, and this is how it's done, in my opinion. I've talked about a lot of times, like, these type of things are there's a lot of opportunities in crypto for like quick things where you try to make 10,000x returns and all that stuff and crazy ROIs and all this nonsense. And those usually fall apart. But this is more of a long-term thing. This is gonna hopefully work out well for the people who are here, because not for some like quick return on investment or anything like that, but because they enjoy this game and they enjoy this product and they want to be part of it for many years. They want to build up their accounts. They want to build up their skills and their assets over the long term. And see where it gets us. So I was thank you to everybody. I mean, that's the reason I'm here. That's the reason I was interested in taking over recently, and stepping into a position that I personally don't really enjoy as much as game design. Um, it's because of all the great messages and all the support that I've gotten from the community. So I want to step up and do my part to make this all happen, for you guys and for myself as a player. Like, I just want to, if I have to deal with corporate the shenanigans and whatever it is, um, that's what I'll do because I want to see this happen. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Nate, who will probably have a lot more exciting stuff to show and to talk about here. So take it away, Nate.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I mimic your sentiment. I think that, things have been going well, and I'm not going to rehash everything you just said. I just know that the creative department is pretty freaking stoked and excited, and that there's so much positivity, so much cool stuff that's been happening. Um, Post cutbacks, I guess. So, and with that in mind, I think I put this in Mav chat like yesterday, I think, or day before, but I want to, remind people that there is a UX channel on the Discord right now. Some of you have already had an opportunity to kind of go in there and share some feedback and stuff like that. And I told the design team, hey, review that each week. Alfredo, our creative coordinator, once a week he goes through, and just like he gets questions from Saria might get questions from the town hall, and get those questions for a town hall like this one. We do the same thing, but for our design meeting, we look through the UX channel, we see if there's any good ideas there, and if there's any low-hanging fruit. So your idea has a much better chance of being implemented if it's something super easy, but also has a whole bunch of value. So I think currently, right now, I think Matt Clark had the idea of like, hey, it'd be nice on the collection screen if there was just some indication that the card could be leveled up. Or I think someone else had a suggestion of like, well, can you just add the percentage or max button to the DEC transfer in case you just want to hurry up and push a button, make the amount show up, and click go. Little stuff like that is like it makes it a lot easier, so that when we're on the design meeting, it's like, yeah, is there anything really cool that you saw in the Discord that we can implement? And they're like, yeah, this would take me like 15 minutes, or this would take whatever. Then we could have it sitting on the shelf for engineering, and Hopefully someday we get around to it sooner rather than later, and then boom, you as part of the community could point to that and say, "Hey, I helped make that happen. That was a good idea," and the team saw that, and we want to get as much of that as possible. So I'm really excited to see some of your guys' feedback in there. Um, in terms of stuff to share, I would say I think that, yeah, I mean, I don't have stats like Matt pointed out. We're still balancing, we're still testing. But if you guys did want to see some of the artwork, I'm not opposed to it. I got a handful of characters that I can kind of share here.
I
We
would
just
like to see some of the characters, Nate.
all right. Let's take a look. Here is and what I it's weird of me to say this, but I really like our direction with the background, which seems like a silly thing to be excited about. But I think they're cool. I like the backgrounds. I like how you could glance at a card now and look away, and based on the pattern and the gradient and everything, you just know what you looked at. Oh, that was water, that was fire, that was whatever. Uh, so here is an soothsayer, which is a water element. Um, these guys hang out on the northern coasts, I believe, of Pretoria. So if you have player-owned land up there, maybe someday you're working the fields and you look out there and you might see uh, one of these guys just scrambling onto the land like with octopus legs and asking you if you want your fortune told or whatever. So that is a character for the water element, which I thought the artist did a great job of getting some of that races, overall, I don't know what they're about, and the fact that it's obviously probably most likely going to be a caster. Last I looked at the stats, it is intended to be a caster with some sort of magic attack, but we'll see. We'll see if that changes or not. Um, I think another one. Let's look at fire element. So this is a Gobelano soldier, and if you notice from his attire, he has that kind of that mafia, that mob vibe going on. And it's interesting because for those of you who are fans of the lore, you know that there is already a crime family known as the Gobson crime family, which are goblins, which have a green skin, and they live on a particular continent. When the Chaos Legion invaded the Gobelano family, which is not the Gobson family, said, "Hey, we recognize that these guys are the guys who we want to be on their side. They're the winners of this big war." So the Empire has been utilizing these guys to I don't know, oppress the inhabitants of the Splinterlands a little bit. So people aren't too fond of these guys, particularly the Gobson family, who refuses to bend the knee. In fact, here is an Earth um, element character from the Gobson family, and like I pointed out, they hate the Gobelanos. So this goblin hates the other goblin. I believe right now this particular character I'm about to share is on track to be actually potentially one of the summoners. We'll see if that changes or not. But 50-50 chance this guy ends up being a summoner in the new Rebellion set. So you have first glance at what this guy is, and obviously he's in a position of power on in the Gobson crime family syndicate. So that's a cool little subplot narrative being told throughout the rebellion. Is there's it's not just about the good guys versus the bad guys. There's all these people who live in the gray area in between who are taking advantage of the situation in different ways, and that includes two warring crime families. Um, let's see. I did want to share. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this. I was going to hold on to a little bit longer, but it's just so cool. So, for those of you who follow the Tome of Chaos stories, there was quite a few which told the story of these heroes in the Chaos War. Um, one of those heroes I'll share right now. They'll actually finally make their way into the card set. Now, in the previous card set with Chaos Legion, one of those characters was River Hellendale, I believe is his name, and he ended up being a card, which is an elven magic user. And so here is the next release of a character, and there's going to be a lot more. But Fia, who was a teenage girl, daughter of a pirate, grew up because I don't know, rebellion that takes place years and years after Chaos Legion. So she's grown up now, pirate captain of her own ship and crew, and she ends up being one of the major, critical, most pivotal heroes of the rebellion. And her new name that she's going under in this set, because no one knows her as Fia Fia anymore. Rather, they know her as Captain Fellblade, and she is of the water element. So here is a sneak peek at her. And because she is a hero of the rebellion and she plays such a critical role, um, we went ahead and made some background art, which we'll probably use. We're trying to work on getting a trailer made. I don't know if we're going to pull it off in time, but if we do, then you can imagine how cool it'll be to see some of this art that I'm going to share here, that basically showcases the mysterious and powerful Captain Fellblade. So that is what I got for today. So just some sneak peeks at the artwork, and what you know, and what kind of characters they are, and who you can expect to see play a pivotal role in the story of Rebellion.
Thank you, Nate. I'm still looking at these, seeing the memes coming in. Thank you, Clay, for jumping on that so quick. We might have to use that. Get ready for the next burning event. We might have to take that theme there. Everybody's smoking their cigars of DEC or something like that. Maybe making DEC s'mores or something, or s'mores over a DEC fire.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if can you eat DEC? I feel like that would have some unfortunate side effects that would land you with the local cleric.
Possibly, or turn you into a superhero of some sort. I
That's
don't know.
true.
That's typically how that works. Cool. Thank you so much, Nate. If anything else, comes by your desk, they're like, oh, I forgot to share that. Throw it in the chat there. I
Oh,
don't think anyone
absolutely.
will complain. Other than that, though, I just want to start with the pre-sorted questions from that were posted in the town hall channel before or since the last town square or town hall, and then I will get into questions from the community. Like I said, this is going to be mostly community-led town hall here. Focus on your questions, what you guys want to know, because this all wouldn't happen if it wasn't for you guys. And we'll see how that takes us. So first, in the pre-sorted town hall questions, we have really what's one big long multi-part question about Clay, the recent DAO proposal that I put up to hire Clayboyne, which is great. I'm glad that someone asked, and I was purposely waiting to talk about it till we got to this question rather than earlier on. Um, and we can also talk about the other proposal from the Real Wolf for his Splinter Royale game, which is pretty cool. And if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to shoot them out here. So the DAO question says, I fully support the Clay DAO proposal, but would welcome some additional clarity on a few points. First, how exactly can the DAO hire anyone? So that's an interesting question, and I feel like it comes from a potential place of misunderstanding about DAOs and the whole concept of it. If it's a question about how like legally or anything they can hire someone, um, it's simply the DAO has funds and they can agree to pay someone in exchange for work. I mean, that's how they can hire someone. And it doesn't that's kind of the whole idea of DAOs, of being decentralized organizations, is they don't need to adhere to all the kind of ridiculous regulations and restrictions that different jurisdictions put in place. I mean, honestly, the DAO and everyone participating in it can be totally anonymous. The people working for it can be totally anonymous. There are people that work for the Hive DAO, for example. It's simply DAOs are organizations. They have funds and they can pay people, and those people can provide value in some way for the DAO. And if the people aren't providing value, then the DAO can stop paying them, you know, or vice versa. So, that is how exactly the DAO can hire anyone. It's actually very easy. Anyone can put up a proposal, and if approved, someone gets funds and can do work, and that's how they can hire someone. And we don't really need all the legal contracts that are required and cost all sorts of money for lawyers and HR in normal businesses. And that's also why personally I believe that DAOs are eventually going to sort of really disrupt the industry of business. I don't want to get too off on a tangent here, but I think DAOs are the way of the future because they really are not going to have to just deal with all the ridiculous amount of overhead and cost in traditional businesses. Um, and so then the next question is along the same line as what is its legal standing? I understood the Singapore Foundation was supposed to represent the DAO. Yeah, so there is a Singapore Foundation that does represent the DAO legally if needed. Although, generally, I think it goes against the whole idea of DAOs to even have a legal entity somewhere. But it does add a layer of protection for people, especially ones who aren't anonymous in certain areas of the world, to have an entity that represents it. But that's really just like it's really just a legal entity and a legal construct. So there's not like it doesn't have people that are actively working at the moment to do anything with it. It's just there as a legal entity that can be pointed to in the event that there needs to be a legal entity that can be pointed to as recommended by various lawyers when it was being set up. So it's the DAO's responsibility, you, the token holders, responsibility, whenever you need or want something to be done to make it happen. Um, and then there's a quote from the proposal that it's extremely important that we increase and maintain the separation between the DAO and the Splinterlands company, to which the person asking the question says they totally agree, but with that in mind, they fail to understand how either Splinterlands tournament creation or Discord management can be responsibility of the DAO. What am I missing? Yeah, so well, for Splinterlands tournament creation, the DAO is the one that is sponsoring and paying the SPS to make the Splinterlands tournaments. So the Splinterlands tournament system is open for anyone to come and create their tournaments. There's no real responsibility on the Splinterlands company there to create tournaments. I mean, at certain points, the Splinterlands company may create tournaments and give out prizes. We've typically used other mechanisms for giving out prizes, like the DEC burning event and things like that. But so if the DAO wants to give out SPS for tournaments, it really should be the DAO's responsibility to do that and to set them up. And it's not a huge responsibility, and it's also that it should be the DAO's responsibility to talk with the players and figure out what should those tournaments be. What should the prizes be? How many? What leagues should they be? What cards should they allow? All that stuff. It's the DAO controls that SPS. They're the ones that should decide and determine how those are paid out. And in the past, the Splinterlands company has done that, for free for the DAO. Um, but given our need to reduce expenses, and that it's really very strictly a DAO thing, it kind of really makes sense that is one of the things that gets transferred over to the DAO's responsibility, if that's something that the DAO wants to do. And Discord management is definitely not the responsibility of the DAO, but I think it would be very helpful. This Discord is basically it's kind of for both organizations together, right? There's not a separate Discord that I'm aware of, at least for the DAO specifically, and I don't necessarily think that would make sense to have one for the game and one for the DAO. I think it works fine to have them both together since they're both quite intertwined. So I think it would be great to have someone to help moderate the Discord and to help manage the Discord from the DAO's end, and it could sort of be a shared resource between both organizations. So that's where I personally fall on these things. But I do want to say also that, like, obviously I'm the one that made this proposal, so it makes sense that these questions are directed toward me. But generally, I feel like there's a lot of like the players kind of look to the Splinterlands company or myself as to what the DAO should do or how it should operate. And I'm always happy to give my advice and my opinion on those things. But generally, I think it would be really good for the community generally to take more ownership and to look less to the Splinterlands company and myself about how the DAO should or could do things. And it's really your organization, and I am just a part of it, just like any of you, based on my stake, as is the company, and we are separate entities with a symbiotic relationship. So we should work together, but it shouldn't it we should move away from a situation where the Splinterlands company is operating things for the DAO, or doing things for the DAO, unless there's a proposal and an agreement like with Rebellion that we operate in that way. So it's a mindset change that I would, encourage the community to take, of like, it's yours, you own it. You don't need to ask for permission. You can certainly, talk amongst yourselves and with me and other people that are part of that, part of the token holder community, for ideas and feedback. But it's really up to the community to pick how they want that to operate. Um, so the next part of the question says, I had a lot of jobs, both founded or managed several businesses in the creative industries. Based on the job descriptions, this only sounds like a part-time job to me. Either way, could we get greater clarity on the duties, commitment, terms, and hours? Um, I mean, sure, that's it. Maybe it's a part-time job, maybe it's not. I don't know. It's kind of, to me, like, well, we don't know exactly ahead of time how much work or how much responsibility it will be. This is part of the stuff that can be discussed with Clay, I think, and I know there's been a lot of discussions going on in the various channels and Discord and things. And generally, if the community doesn't feel like it's enough work for the cost, then I would say don't vote for the proposal. I generally feel like, even if we don't know exactly every detail of what he might be doing. I mean, we have some of the things, like the commitment and terms are pretty clear. Things like hours maybe aren't, and those things will get figured out over time. But I generally feel like it will be a good deal for the DAO, which is why I proposed it. I wouldn't have done that otherwise. I'll throw something in here that's not part of the question, since this is an important topic. Some people, asked or talked about that, like, I specifically want Claiborne to do this over other people. Some people suggest that, like, I think I can control him, and like I want to put someone in this position that, like, I control somehow. And I just want to, like, be clear about how untrue and kind of ridiculous that whole thing is. Clay reached out to me to suggest this. I thought it was a good idea. And that's why I went ahead and made the proposal. I know a lot of people had discussed the possibility of Weirdbeard taking on a similar position. I would be very happy and ecstatic to see Weirdbeard propose something similar, or work with him to propose something similar. He hasn't reached out to me, which I understand. He may not want to. I don't know. But I didn't, like, think I need to control the DAO, and how do I do that, and make it seem like I'm not, and went to Clay, or anything like that. He came to me and proposed this. I thought it would be great, so I put it to the community. And I generally, overall, like, there's no, like, secret back end puppeteering happening with all this. I mean, if I really wanted to control this ecosystem and everything, we wouldn't even have a DAO. Like, everything I'm doing, like, I genuinely want to be less in control of everything, in any way, shape, or form that I can. I didn't even really want to take over as CEO of the company for similar reasons, but that I felt, like I talked about earlier, was necessary, and part of my a responsibility that I couldn't ignore, to do that. But I genuinely, as a community member first, I want the DAO to be as independent and separate, and have no control in any way, or ties, in any way possible, to the Splinterlands company. I want this to be the first fully player owned game. And that is scary in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know how it's going to go. Everyone's like, "Oh, what if the players do this? And what if they do these things that are dumb?" And I genuinely believe that, while there are a lot of crazy ideas that come out of our community often, even I have some of those from time to time. As a whole, getting a two-thirds majority to agree on something really means that it's actually going to be a very good and beneficial idea for the community, in the most part. So my goal is really the opposite of control. I want to decentralize. I want to get as much, off of myself as I can. I generally feel it's a negative thing for the whole ecosystem, how much rides on me, right? From a lot of perspectives, including, like, game design and economy design. And we need a lot more people to be able to take over those things. And we've been working on that over the years. I mean, a couple years ago, way more stuff was dependent on me, from running servers to coding to tech support to all these things. And we have great people in place now doing all those things. So I don't touch them at all. And it just and we need to keep doing that as far, bring it to economy, game design, the DAO. I would like to completely manage itself. So I just wanted to clarify that based on some of the comments I saw, that like I 100% genuinely am trying to reduce control and give more control to the community and to the player base, because as a player, that is what I want, right? I want a game that the players can run and control and can move in directions that they want to do. So that's where my head is at. That's what we're trying to do. That's what this Claiborne DAO proposal is about. And if there's anybody else that the community that's interested and the community wants to do it, I would love to also help them with a proposal. And that the community should decide who they want in this position. I think it's an important position that we should have somebody in. And I think Claiborne is a great candidate, and I haven't heard anyone else step up or give a proposal themselves, about doing that. So that's how we got where we are now. I'll jump back into the bullet points here in the DAO question. Sorry for the little tangent again. Given whatever pay is finally approved, X% a year of our non-Splinterlands assets is significant. How can we create fiat income for the DAO? Yeah, I mean, anything is significant, and the company and the DAO and everyone probably personally should be extremely careful with their funds. And we certainly had not been nearly as careful from a company perspective as we should have been over the last year and a half, and that's what's led us to this position. So I'm extremely conscious of being very, very careful on how we spend funds, and the DAO should do the same thing. So it's important to consider those things. And even though it is a relatively small percent of the DAO's current non-Splinterlands assets, that doesn't mean we should just not consider it fully. And and as far as how we can create fiat income from the DAO, I really think that, I mean, my overall thought process in this regard is that the DAO should just continue to build out value for the SPS token. I mean, that's literally the DAO's mandate. That's kind of all it is meant to do, is build value for the SPS token. Obviously, that's very beneficial for the Splinterlands company. So the game and what we do as a company is very symbiotic with the DAO. We're trying to do the same. We both have the same goals. And that if we can do that sustainably, that will allow the DAO to slowly convert its DEC and or SPS into fiat. Um, Without, it's not something that would be a big, like, crashing the price. It would just be relatively small, probably constant and algorithmic sales over time to fund itself. So I don't necessarily think that the DAO should look to bring in fiat directly, or not fiat. I mean, stable coins or other non-SL assets directly. I think the DAO should focus on building demand and value for the SPS token, and then slowly sell it off programmatically over time, uh, in order to have non-Splinterlands funds to pay for things. But again, that's just my opinion. The DAO is more than welcome to propose. Members are more than welcome to propose all sorts of different ideas and see what the community wants to do there. And the last bullet point under this super long question: does Steam Monsters Inc. use the Claiborne DAO contract proposal structure as a model for its own staff? In the Claiborne proposal, where are his targets? A number of this, number of that by X date, accountability structure to stakeholders, DAO governance development, etc. So I read that question of sort of like uh, insinuating that we should structure things in that way. I actually disagree with that. I think structuring things with very specific targets doesn't really work well, because especially in something like this, it's very nebulous, it's very abstract, things change very quickly. So you can set very specific targets and someone can just work towards those targets, and it oftentimes can become clear that maybe those aren't the right targets, maybe hitting those targets don't help us, maybe something changed where those targets don't make sense. So and it's the same thing with the company or the DAO or really any organization in this similar uh similar uh area, like new technology, new unusual things. It's not like, you're just making widgets and you bring someone in to increase widget productions 10%, and you know that that's going to increase your revenues by whatever percent. And you've been doing that for 50 years, right? This is a new, quickly changing industry. So the way I look at it within Splinterlands and what I would do for the DAO, and I think is what is being proposed for Clay, is that you just want to get really good people that really care about this. And you don't know exactly what the metrics are, or exactly what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, but they're going to work their ass off uh, to make things better. And they're a part of their job is also figuring out what they should do and what the targets are, what they should be focusing on, and seeing, is it working, right? If they're building a Twitter following and they get the followers to some amount, did that help? Was that worth it? You know, if it was, great. And so it's just all about, like, I don't have a specific targets. There's specific general goals that were thought about and were put in the proposal. And I'm sure, maybe people have specific other things they want to do, but I look at someone like Claiborne as someone who will work towards those goals, evaluate the progress there, and see if it's going right. And if not, they'll change course, right? So I personally try to avoid very specific targets. It's sort of like teaching to the test, right? If you have a target, people are going to do things to hit that target, and it's like, well, did that really get to our goal? Like, is that really what we need, or is it just like people just trying to hit a certain number? And it gets messy. So I really just look for good people who genuinely care about this stuff. And it's not just like, how can I do my job and clock out and be done and hit my numbers and call it a day. It's like they're creative. They work hard. They come up with new ideas. They question everything. It's just like, how can we bring the most value in this case to the SPS token? In any way, shape, or form. And that's one of the things also I mentioned earlier about, like, hopefully the community can rely on me or the Splinterlands company less in, like, what the DAO should do or how it should do it, or all these things. So I think having someone who's a hired representative of the DAO like Clay can be someone that the community generally can work with. And obviously he can interface with the Splinterlands company and myself whenever necessary. But yeah, that's sort of part of the job description there. Is just like, help the DAO and everyone that's part of it organize and like figure out what they want to do and what they can do and how to do it. And it's not just like, ask me on the town hall, or ask the company, the Splinterlands company. So that's all part of why I think it's like, it's good. Like, it would be very beneficial for the DAO to have someone that is working for the DAO, and doing all these things, whatever it is, new things that could come up every week or whenever. It's just like someone whose sole focus on figuring out how to make the DAO operate better and bring more value to the SPS token, whatever that may be. Okay, that was
Can,
long.
can I jump on that real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah.
I
Jump,
want to. I don't want
jump
people
in.
to get the wrong idea because I think you said it like it needed to be said. I don't want it. So I think the point that needs to be made is the internal team doesn't doesn't just go day to day with zero metrics like we. But as Matt pointed out, they're self-imposed, meaning like I was talking to the folks involved with marketing recently. I was looking at the analytics. I was like, hey, look, here's our organic socials. Here's the numbers by which we could probably do better. Let's try to double these numbers. Let's try to triple these numbers. What could we do effectively to make these goals matter and see benefit to the company? But if I told them, hey, just do whatever you got to do to make those numbers happen, it's kind of like what Matt said. If you just said, like, your job depends upon reaching certain numbers, you can do whatever you got to do to make those numbers happen, then suddenly I got traffic coming to the website that could be from freaking, people looking for diapers or something. And of course, they're going to drop and they're just going to go away, all because I told people, look, if you don't reach these numbers, then you're fired. And so they're going to scramble to do whatever they got to do, and the numbers will be superficially, artificially inflated, and they won't mean anything. So, but that doesn't mean we don't have goals. It's not like we don't look at the numbers. Same thing with the creative team. We look at rate of production. We look at how much character art, let's say, an artist is doing per week or per month, and we keep an eye on that. But if I said, hey, look, you're fired if you don't get X number of characters done this week or whatever, then what if they just score out garbage or like just they're hurrying, going as fast as they can because they're sweating bullets because Nate says they're fired if they don't get so many characters done. So then it becomes about quantity rather than quality, and we don't want that. So there's a balance. I just want to make a point that like yeah, Matt is right. It's not like metrics don't matter. It's not like goals don't matter. We use metrics, we use goals. These are important parts of our day to day, but it's not it's not all that we look at either. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, and it's really sort of between the DAO and the token holders, of which I am one, and Nate, and most of the people in the Splinterlands organization, to work with Clay, and if he's doing this, like figure it out. I'm sure he'll give updates on what he's doing from time to time, and the community should work with him to see, is this helpful, is this valuable, what are metrics or what are goals that we want to try to get to, and how are we going to evaluate them. And one other thing I just wanted to touch on is, people have asked a bunch of times, is like, should he be paid in DEC or SPS instead of stable coins? And that's something I considered and a bunch when I talked about with him. I probably should have mentioned it in the proposal, but I apologize for not doing that. So I thought about initially just having him be paid in DEC or SPS, but obviously he has, this is his income. He has fiat bills to pay, so those would all just be sold on the market pretty much immediately for fiat or stable coins. So I thought it would actually be better to have the DAO just pay in stable coins, and then it becomes the DAO's decision, right? The DAO could decide to sell some DEC or SPS to pay Clay or other things, or they could not. So it basically, if we said that we are paying Clay and DEC, I feel like it would just definitely be sold on the market every time, versus giving the DAO basically the option of how to do it. And I talked about earlier, like the overall goal I think should be bringing as much value as possible to DEC and SPS, so that the DAO can programmatically sell some over time to pay for things like this. But I prefer to look at all of its expenses to be in non-Splinterlands assets, because most of them will be. Um, and then the DAO can choose whether it wants to use some of the non-Splinterlands assets it already has, or if it wants to sell SPS or DEC into non-Splinterlands assets to make the payments. So it could go either way. It doesn't really change that much, in my opinion. But that's why I sort of went that route with the proposal. All right, so now jumping to unrelated and different questions. The first question is about time zones. Can we please change the start of product sales to be more considerate of people living in other countries? Um, Yes, I mean that's definitely something we consider, obviously, at least with doing the town halls. I was pretty confident that it only matters when there's like a quick sellout or something, or there's something where you need to be in early and first. And I was very confident in this case with the Rebellion presale that it was not going to have a very fast sellout, and that everyone would have a chance, no matter where they live or what time zone they're in, to participate. And we thought it would be better to err on the side of having more of our team available. But I think definitely when there are things where time is important, I mean, I guess I prefer to try to avoid those things as much as possible, where everyone has to like be on at a certain time and like fight to try to get to something before it ends. Yeah, I prefer to do things in a way where it just everyone can participate whenever is convenient for them. But in the case that that's not possible, we will try to stagger the starts to different time zones as much as we can. Um, SPS question: when I initially designed SPS, did I anticipate that burning SPS for DEC would be an important role in the overall economy? Is the current SPS economy performing as you anticipated and designed it? I really didn't think about that at the time, which is why it's not talked about in the white paper or anything. I mean, clearly we should have had that, during the whole SPS airdrop phase when DEC kind of went nuts. Um, and this has all been a learning experience, right? And it's all going to be a learning experience. We are on the very cutting edge of all of these things. And I want to stay on the cutting edge of all these things, which means we're going to be experimenting and we're going to be learning. Um, through the process. So I think the whole way that the SPS airdrop went with DEC being uh, ridiculously high for a while and then coming all the way back down, that all was like those were all great learning experiences to how we have currently now set up the system to work. Um, so I think it's definitely not going like as I anticipated it initially because I don't think I could possibly have anticipated all the things that have happened in the last 2 years. But I actually think it's going very well in the sense that I know economically the value is down, but just the way we've been able to experiment, see what works and what doesn't, and put a really solid system in place. That again, like we're really only starting to see this. Like this is, I feel like with the Rebellion sale or just like a couple more recent things is like the first time we've actually had this full system in place, and then we've started, doing sales and putting out new products, which is what backs all of this. So I am very happy how it turned out so far, in that I think we've built a really exciting and innovative and robust system, and now it's like we're going to see how this works, and we're going to start putting the pedal to the metal of land and rebellion and promo cards and all sorts of different guild updates, new DEC syncs, and see how this all really works out. And if it doesn't, I'm sure something, not everything's going to go exactly as anticipated. That's kind of always the case. And so we're going to say, okay, well, what didn't work? Why didn't it work? How can we change it? How can we make it better? As we always do. But I'm extremely excited for this whole system being in place and for us to actually kick the tires on it and see what it can do. Uh, soon. It's all happening. It's all happening it's all starting in the next few months. And I think we'll see the full effects over the next year or so. Um, so that's we've been waiting, in my opinion, a long time to see this all fall into place, and I'm excited to see how it works out. Um, yeah, Rondon, thanks for the reminder that it's not open question time. I can't really talk and read the chat at the same time, so I'm not seeing all the things that you guys are putting in there while I'm talking. But we will get to questions very soon. I have two more. I'm going to start going a little faster. Um, Hopefully, you guys appreciate my extra commentary and little sidebars on all these things. But if not, just let me know in the comments or whenever. I'm pretty open to adjusting these events in ways that players. I mean, these are for you guys. This is for the player base. So if there's something you want to see more of, less of, change, let us know. That's what we want to hear. The starter set question: for convenience, can you make a function do not show cards from the spellbook starter set? This makes it difficult to choose. I think if you mean in team selection, I agree. Yeah, something that just like shows and hides those cards from team selection would be great. That's one of those little things. It's not strictly a UX change, but I looked to the team generally. Like again, we have a good team of people who don't just do what exactly they're tasked to do at the time, but who like care about this game and just want to make it better. And they, our team kind of picks up on things like that. And Nate and the creative team kind of throws like, hey, here's some new UI things that the players wanted in there, and then developers often pick them up as little side tasks here and there. um, so that's a great one, and I'd love for hopefully someone on the team to be able to pick that up if they get a chance.
For
Um,
that one specifically, I'll say that that's something we're trying to squeeze in, which I think I think Matt, you probably were on one of the meetings where we discussed that. Is that even though it's not at the top of the priority list, part of what we'd love to launch with, because there are dual element summoners coming out, is the idea of redesigning, revamping, or at the very bare minimum, tweaking the sorting and filtering involved in the team selection. So of course we'll take that feedback right there, and we'll kind of like add that in. And when we are under the hood of the car and we're working on that, then we'll definitely keep that in mind for sure.
yeah, thank you, Nate. That's exactly, that's a great way of doing it. Um, and feel free to keep bringing these things up if they don't happen. It's good. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease in these situations. So I agree. That's a good change. And hopefully we can get to it at some point. Rebellion packs. What is the best way for a USA customer to purchase DEC using fiat in order to purchase Rebellion packs? Transact does not support the US. What option do your USA players have? Um, yeah, so first of all, I mean, my hope is that DEC will continue to creep up in price over time, and that credits will be a very viable option for purchasing packs. Even now, it's not that big of a difference when you factor in like fees and things like that for purchasing DEC. Like purchasing credits is pretty near the same total cost. So I would say that's an option. Hopefully, we make that pretty easy for most people. But aside from that, I typically say if Transact doesn't work, and they do support the US, but it can be very difficult. A lot of credit cards and US banks and providers don't support it. So it's not necessarily Transact as much as the US institutions. But I typically recommend people open a Coinbase account, which you should definitely be able to do in the US. It's a bit of a process, but it's not too bad. And purchase USDC, and then you can use the buy DEC or buy SPS option that's run by TerraBlock to swap USDC into DEC or SPS. That's the route I typically recommend for people. I think it's the easiest. And there's also no fees for purchasing USDC through Coinbase. So you put fiat into Coinbase and you purchase DEC and there's no fee for it. Sorry, USDC and there's no fee. So if you get $100 in Coinbase, you can buy 100 USDC exactly, and then you can relatively easily send that I believe to your own wallet or maybe directly even from Coinbase to the TerraBlock service. I'm not sure. Um, and buy the DEC that way, and you'll pay the fees for that service, but they shouldn't be hopefully too bad. And I know it's not super easy. I wish it was easier, and there's not a whole lot we can do about that. But also on the flip side, I feel like if it was easier, then everyone would be doing it, and we wouldn't have as much of a competitive advantage as we do, just like generally in this space. I mean, that's a big reason why. A lot of the bigger game companies and things haven't gotten into this space seriously yet. It's because this stuff is still so difficult, right? So the us who are here now and have been going through these extra steps to figure it out and do it, like that's the whole point of like being in early, right? Getting in before it's super easy and everybody's doing it, and then hopefully Splinterlands will be in a great position to benefit once everyone can do it easily. But I again would just suggest to try using Coinbase and USDC um, to then go into DEC or SPS. All right, that is the end of the pre-sorted questions. Ron or someone, if you want to kick off the chat questions, I will start running through those. And Nate, still feel free to jump in if you see any that you want to chime in on. All right, thank you, Azaria. So Q&A session is now open in the Discord Town Hall chat channel. All right, we have the first question here from Arceus, or Arceus. I don't know how to pronounce it. How is it going with the exchange listing? It could be a good combination with Land 1.5. If you're talking about SPS exchange listings, I have no information on that. That is literally something that you know Clay has been working on and managing for us, and would continue to do as part of his duties if he is hired by the SPS DAO. So the Splinterlands organization purposely, as much as possible, stays away from SPS exchange listings. That gets into a lot of gray area as far as securities laws and things like that. So this is part of the whole idea of separation between the company and the DAO. So the DAO is absolutely free and open to work with exchanges or whatever other entities they want to list the token. Myself and the company are going to stay out of that. Question from Wolf. You mentioned a few minutes ago that you think the idea around the Splinter Royale game is pretty cool. Could you please share your thoughts about what excites you about it? Yes, thank you for bringing that up, and I apologize I forgot about it earlier. I got a lot of things obviously running through my mind and trying to keep up with chat and all that. So yeah, I mean the whole again, this whole idea of like less onus and responsibility on the Splinterlands company, having the DAO be a separate entity, decentralization in general. So having other games and other projects that utilize Splinterlands assets and tokens is sort of like the holy grail, essentially, in my mind. Like this should be a whole ecosystem of different games and different products that all utilize this same asset ecosystem, and that's how I think you can like really drive significant value to it. And it helps in all the discussions about legal securities stuff. It's like this is an open thing that lots of other people can build on, and it's not even just theoretical. Here's all these other things that are building on it. It can give tons of value to the assets, obviously, having more options, and we as a company are not in a great position to be doing all that, right? I mean, clearly tower defense is still hanging out there, and we're trying to figure out a solution for that, but we're in no position to take on other things beyond focusing on the core Splinterlands game, which I've talked about that I'm going to be doing. It's just I'm focusing on Splinterlands. I'm building that back up. Um, so the fact that Wolf, who is a fantastic developer, has worked with Splinterlands, has built already this great new game concept that utilizes Splinterlands assets and tokens. I think that's something personally I very much want to support and want to see more of. And you see like there's different blockchain ecosystems, right? Hive, Solana, and Ethereum, and a lot of them they have their own DAOs or their foundations or venture capital or whatever it is, and they have funds that they allocate to bring in new projects into their ecosystem. And I think that works very well, and it works even better when it's a decentralized system like the SPS DAO versus just like a centralized foundation or organization, or the Hive DAO, for example, where the community just sort of pools funds and resources together and goes after new projects and brings new things in to help the ecosystem. I think it's worked very well for a lot of other ecosystems. I pretty much all the big chains have it for Avalanche and Solana, Binance Smart Chain, and all those. Like they have funds and they offer them. I mean, I know a lot of them have talked with Splinterlands about moving to their chains, which we've politely turned down in exchange for funds. Um, and I think not only Hive but also the SPS DAO could benefit by utilizing their resources more to try to encourage new projects to come into the ecosystems, uh, which would ultimately benefit the tokens. And I think it's important to make sure also that the DAO would benefit from it. So I haven't looked through the I haven't thought through the whole proposal yet. But I believe there was a revenue share that goes back to the DAO, which is great. Um, so it should hopefully be like a win-win if the DAO decides to provide funding to other projects coming into the ecosystem. It's like the DAO sort of is like a little VC fund investing in these things, and it's um, if the companies that it invests in do well, if like Splinter Royale does well, the DAO can earn directly from revenue share there, and it helps increase the value of the tokens because Splinter Royale is using those tokens and NFTs. So it can kind of be a like an exponential win potentially. But on the flip side, I do understand like there's been two significant requests for DAO funds recently, and we do need to be careful with the DAO funds. I personally plan to support the Splinter Royale proposal. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But overall, it's something the DAO should think about. Is having the funds just sit there in the DAO also is not great, right? If they're just sitting there forever and ever, and not being put to use, like that's wasted capital, that's wasted resources. So you obviously want to keep enough funds there to for a rainy day, right? Cover expenses through a big bear market or whatever it is. But aside from that, I think you want to try to put your funds to use in the best way possible, rather than just having them sit there and lose value over time. So the DAO has options. Obviously, there's stable coins which are subject to inflation and losing value over the long term. The DAO has some and could invest in other cryptocurrency tokens, which have a lot of potential over the long term, but they don't have that like multiplicative effect, right? That the DAO would get more money if their tokens go up in value, but that's it. On the flip side, though, if the DAO invests in projects that are building within this ecosystem, then they can earn if those projects do well, and it also helps the other tokens, the SPS that the DAO holds. So I would again really encourage everyone that's part of this community um, to think about how the DAO can make the best use of its funds and how much it should really hold for a rainy day, and then the rest of it, how it can be put to the best use to provide the most value for the organization. Hopefully that was a good overview there for you, Wolf. And thank you again. Just like anyone, obviously the real Wolf has done this regardless of whether the proposal passes or fails. So he spent his own time and his own money doing that. He's also done a lot of work for the Splinterlands company for no pay and just for equity options in the company for a while. So like that guy has put so much value into this ecosystem that I think even if you have reservations, that's something to keep in mind. Like I think it would be very beneficial to support someone like him that's just put so much of their own personal time and money into this ecosystem, and probably will still continue to do that even if the proposal is not approved. These are the type of people we need. Like it's again back to the do we need specific milestones or numbers or whatever. Like, I don't know what those specific milestones and numbers are, but I know people like Wolf, they're going to figure it out, whatever it is. And if it doesn't work, they're going to try something different because they just deeply like this and care about this. So those are the type of people I love to have working with us in this ecosystem. Okay, I said I was going to not take too much time on all these questions, but I guess anything that's a live current proposal warrants some more discussion generally.
No,
Uh,
plus we got time,
yeah,
right?
we do. I don't know. I always feel like I'm rushed, but you're right. We have about another hour. But I do want to get to everyone. So, Quantum Nachos has a question regarding overpopulations of cards. I thought a while back we had an idea discussed about a card pack staking system for guilds. Is that still a possibility as well? Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, with some of the things that happened recently, the whole guilds project has gotten pushed back in priority, but it's still 100% a project that is on the table to be done. Likely at some point next year. Um, and that one of the things I want to do though very in the past I feel like we've been like, okay, we're going to redesign guilds and we kind of do something for that, and then we design land and we do something for that, and then we design this and we do something for that. But I want everything to be much, I want to spend more time on the design process and get everything much more interconnected. So I want part of the land 2.0 design includes includes guilds and guild power and that and all that stuff. And so I just want like every part of the game to interface and be intertwined with every other part of the game. So you're participating in guilds, you're earning things that help you in ranked battles, you're earning stuff that helps you in land, you're doing stuff on land that helps you in guilds. It's all a big, you know, it's all one thing, like one product that's designed with every other piece of the product in mind versus like little separate pieces that don't kind of work with each other. So that's part of the reason why the guild stuff isn't even done the design process yet. And when we get there, we're going to see where we are with card overpopulation, right? I talked about doing a card burning event at some point, sort of like the DEC burning event we did back in May. We are going to have land 1.5 coming out, and then 2.0 at some point afterwards, which is the idea is very specifically focused on eating up card overpopulation, and perhaps when we really get to doing guilds, there might not be enough cards, and everyone's like clamoring to try to get even Chaos Legion reward cards. I don't know. So it's definitely on the table as an option that we can utilize for guilds. But I'm going to wait till we really sit down and start designing that and take a full overview of the system in mind before we decide, whether something that there should be card or pack staking involved in guilds or not, or how much. So that's how I think of that. It's sort of a non-answer, so I apologize, but um, you get the whole thought process there. Um, Question: where is Soul Keep currently fitting in the time frames of Rebellion plus Lamb 1.5? It is definitely after those, uh, but I mean, assuming those come out on time. But it is 100% not forgotten about. So my first and foremost thing is I need to focus on Splinterlands and the Splinterlands assets, and I need to get the stuff out that we've needed to get out first and foremost. But I very much understand. I have myself bought a number of Soul Keep packs. I know much of our community has paid money to buy Soul Keep packs. And it's not something that we're just going to drop. We it's part of me. coming in and taking over here is I have a whole lot of promises and I have a whole lot of under delivering, and I need to go through and knock those out one at a time. So Soulkeep is on that list, and I plan to figure out how we can come through for the purchasers of Soulkeep packs, but it is definitely going to be after Rebellion and Lamb 1.5. Um, Question from Schnee Gecko. What is the time plan for fray changes and brawls to weight it more towards newer card additions? That's a good question. I'm pretty sure that's been considered as part of or right near the actual Rebellion release in December. Um, and I think Cryptomancer's been looking at that with some other people on the team. So uh, I don't want to say 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure with the release or around the time of release, we'll have fray changes and brawls to take that into account. Question from Young Eagles 95. Can you share your thoughts if there's any update to unlocking reward cards, not just for land, but for opening them for the market as well? Is that still the plan? Yeah, it's still 100% the plan. I mean, we talked about you will be able to spend DEC at some point to unlock the reward cards. First, just for use on land, as that there was a proposal that passed for that. Um, that will be at some point, hopefully shortly after the initial 1.5 release. And then we definitely still plan to allow them to be opened up for sale. The details of that and the timing for that, I don't know yet. Um, Again, like right now, the focus on Rebellion and land and getting that stuff and other things in the organization cleaned up and figured out sort of through the end of the year, and then we're going to start planning for next year, and all these things are going to be a part of that. I'm hoping also like around the beginning of the year or end of the beginning of next year, end of this year, we'll be able to have a much clearer roadmap with all these things. Right now, we're not at that point of like planning yet. We have a bunch of things we got to finish first, and then hopefully I can share a clearer roadmap of here's when we plan to do all these things, all these other things that the community has been waiting on. Question from Rebelling Rebel. That Rebelling Rebel works for someone's excited for Rebellion, which is good to see. Is the team satisfied with the current rating point system, especially in Modern? Any plans to allow players to choose their league as part of a battle pass type system? What incentive do players do have to level up cards when they cannot reasonably advance leagues? I'm not overly happy with the rating point system. I think we can do better. Again, it hasn't been our top priority, but in the past, I've had a lot of different thoughts on how we can redo things. My goal, if we do redo things at some point, is to make it so that like I don't like this whole thing of like players choosing their leagues or people wanting to be in lower leagues for some reason. I feel like we've gotten the incentives wrong in that case. Like I want to fix it so that players always 100% of the time under every circumstance would always want to be in the highest possible league they can possibly be in, and that is always the best case. So it's always better for people to move up. It is always better for people to level up their cards. It's always better for people to combine cards. um, and so that to me is it shows a failure in the current system whenever people are like, you know what, I don't want to move up, it's better for me to stay lower, right? We don't want to incentivize people to stay lower and have lower level cards. So I'm not currently satisfied with it. It is not our top priority. But I do at some point want to you know redo it somehow with that in mind. Question from Sentinel Ryan 600. How have the changes in the company gone so far? Have things settled for the most part? What are some of the behind the scenes things that you can talk about that you are working on? Thank you and the team for all that you do. I mean, I think they have gone pretty well. One of the things was, a lot of people were really stressed out. A lot of people were frustrated. Some people were on the brink of or had already quit as we were kind of going into September. So one of the first things I needed to do was sort of just like calm everything down, have everyone relax, take a breather. Because I want, again, it's about like if we have people who are stressed out and not enjoying what they're doing, we're going to get a worse product out. Like it's going to be worse for everyone here. And that's part of the reasons land has been taking so long. It's like people were stressed out, they were getting kind of butting heads. It actually like I think slowed things down instead of sped things up, having having so many people trying to all like come in and work on land at the same time. So I think things, hopefully other people in the organization agree that things have settled down a lot. I've taken away a lot of the very specific deadlines, and just said let's take a breather. Remember that we enjoy this, and that most of the people working on these things own packs and own cards and own land plots and own DEC and SPS and all this stuff. So I want to get it back to just like people enjoying building things out that they themselves want to play, and not stressing about like things needing to be done at dates that just aren't doable, and being forced to work nights and weekends and all this stuff. And just it's important to me that the organization, everybody in the organization, genuinely enjoys what they're doing, and that's how I think we're going to get the best products out of this for the community. So that's also why I've been very hesitant about saying when land is going to be out or when this or when that, because I want everyone to take a breather, uh, and not worry about hitting deadlines, as much as just getting back to enjoying what they're doing, and taking what the time that they need to get a good product out. And I want there's some people, you know, where if they just don't care about this stuff that much, they're just going to take as much time as they have, and you have to give them a deadline because otherwise they're just not going to work on it. They're going to goof off. But that's not the people we have in this organization. So I know like everyone in this organization, they are going to work as hard as they reasonably can to get stuff out as fast as they can because they want to play it, right? They want to use it. They are members of this community and they're players. So we don't giving them deadlines often just makes things worse. Um, than not. So that's I don't know if people in the community agree or not, but that's how I've been doing things, and that's I think the biggest change in the company that I can share. Financially, I think things are in a much better position due to very significant expense reductions. Obviously, it sucks. We loved all the people who had been part of the organization that aren't anymore. Thankfully, a lot of them are still trying to figure out how to be part of the organization. Claiborne, for example, is one of them, or part of the ecosystem at least. So that's great to see. But the expense reductions really brought down the urgency of everything, which is again also important. I think it's bad for the community as a whole if we constantly feel pressured to bring in more and more revenue every month, uh, because otherwise we're going to run out of money. Like that's also not a way to put out good products, in my opinion. So I think with the expense reductions that allowed us to have everyone take a little bit of a breather, to calm down, relax, and start enjoying this again. And we're in a much better position now going forward, I think. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with that, and hopefully the team is on board with me. Nate, I know you're on the call, and you probably wouldn't say anything bad if you had anything to say, but you feel free to jump in if
No,
you had any thoughts on the matter.
I'm quite internally. I think you're right. I think you took this dark cloud. You took this. We're behind the eight ball constantly. There's lots of stress. I know that there is this thing called a work life balance. As my wife will attest, I'm still struggling with that. I probably work too much, but as far as the team in general, I think that when someone comes to me, one of the team members says, "Hey, ooh, I have this thing. You wanted this thing done, Nate, but this thing came up with family or this, my first response is always going to be family first, man. Go take care of it. If they're worried about something that's happening in their personal life, or if they're feeling stressed out and burnt out or whatever, then it's a lot. I sometimes I see this pop up in Mavs chat where people are like, faster, 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 go, 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 and then they get upset if someone shares a selfie of them, taking a little bit of time off on the weekend or whatever. It's like, no, you should be working. I was like, well, okay, but if you push people that hard, are you really going to be happy with the final outcome? People are just going to be like, the quality won't be as there. How you feel about your work and how passionate you are and how much fun you're having and all of that stuff, it bleeds into the deliverable. I mean, it does. There's no way around it. You can tell with a really polished product that the team put their blood, sweat, and tears behind it. I mean, you see that in everyday life, and whatever the application or the game that you're playing, you could tell if the team was like, cracking of the whip, or whether they really loved what they did, and that bled into the product. And that's what you want. That's what we all want for Splinterlands is you want to look at the product and say, wow, they must have really put their all into it. Um, and that doesn't happen through whip cracking. That happens through passion, as you said. It's a self-imposed passion. But yeah, I would say overall, things are going well. I'm really excited for Rebellion, and part of that has to do with the fact that you gave us a little bit more breathing space, a little bit more room to flex our muscles and try to do the best we can, rather than what is the absolute MVP soonest we can get this done. Is it tomorrow? Is it next week? Go, go, go. Can you work over the weekend like that? That was not what you were. It's great. I love what you're doing, Matt. So big thumbs up.
Yeah, and Nate is the king of like, being intrinsically motivated and passionate about this. I'm sure all of you know that, but Nate's one who like tries to do more and more and more, and we have to pull him back. Like Nate, you're doing too much here. We can't keep up with you. So that's why Nate has been an awesome member of our team to make all this happen for the past lot of years. So I guess probably almost 5 years now since he like
Yeah,
officially
for
came
sure.
on. So that's fantastic. So thank you, Nate. Um, Question, where are we here? From Rivals. Our Splinterlands already have plans to do stuff on Solana and or have a wallet linked into the account. I don't believe we have a Splinterlands Solana wallet as far as I'm aware, but generally that is one avenue we're exploring. Like is I talked earlier about how all of these other blockchains and all these other ecosystems have these funds to bring new stuff into their ecosystem. And some of them have very significant funds. And in the past, we had these talks of like move Splinterlands to whatever chain, and we say thank you, but no thank you. But I think there's a big opportunity to work with them to bring Splinterlands assets to their chain, which in the past, like during the bull run, when we last talked to a lot of them, they weren't necessarily interested in. But I think the conversation's a little different now, and I think there'll be definitely some of these places that would be very happy to have Splinterlands assets, both NFTs and fungible tokens, trading there. And we don't just want to do it for free. We'd like to work with their ecosystems, their DAOs or their foundations to potentially either get funding or have them put up liquidity or there's all sorts of different things, ways we can structure that. But as part of like one of the things I'm doing is raising capital for the business, but this is also another area that we're kind of exploring at the same time as we talk to these other blockchain ecosystems. Is okay. Well, maybe don't necessarily put capital into the business directly because we're not moving off of Hive right now. But maybe there's a way we can work together to put our assets on your chain or in your ecosystem, and promote it to our users, and then get some benefit for our users and for the DAO from that. So I don't I don't I don't know specifically about Solana that the question was asking, but I know we've been talking to other chains and other ecosystems on things like that. And it might be a type of thing where you kind of get one, and then it like if that goes well, other dominoes might start to fall. So we'll see. And PJ, our CTO, has been really leading the charge on that, and he's been doing a great job. He has a lot of connections in the industry, and he's been putting together those calls and meetings. So just a shout out to him for all of that. Question from Hewitt: during the last bull run, the SPS airdrop kept all the things that gave airdrop points at a strong floor. Do you have any similar ideas for the next bull run or just in general? Um, yeah, that's something I've thought about a lot. Obviously, like how the SPS airdrop helped immensely. Now, of course, had we done the SPS airdrop, now versus in 2021 in a different market, I don't think it would have had the same effect. So, a lot of it is sometimes in the bull run, you sort of can put anything out there and it does well. But I think the mechanism though did work well when there was something new and exciting that people wanted and saw as valuable in the future. Then obviously everyone's going to put their value into all the different ways that you can get that thing. And so I see, I'm not going to share specifics, but I do think about that. Those the things that worked for us in the past are obviously what I think about a lot as we go forward, and a lot of that's planned into land. Right, I want it to be very integrated into our game, whatever we do in the future. So it won't be something, we're not going to do the same thing again. It's not like here's another governance token, right? We're not gonna do that. But we have a lot of cool ideas coming out of land, and especially the whole like Secret of Praetoria project, right? That's something there which is sort of similar. Other than that, it's a secret. It's like you sort of put all these resources towards this thing. Um, and I definitely keep the success of the SPS airdrop in mind to try to generate some similar mechanics. And again, uh, I think that will likely be land focused. Either Secret of Praetoria, so get your research points while you can, or other things in land is going to be the mechanism by which uh, we hopefully give a strong floor, a strong utility to lots of different assets in the game going into the next bull run, or even without the next bull run, potentially. Question from Dave McCoy: Can you give us your thoughts on how the Rebellion sale is going? Is it meeting your expectations? Yeah. So my expectations or my hopes, like sort of what I was planning, was that we would sell 250,000 packs before the end of the pre-sale. Now, when I say sell, that means like not including bonus packs, so ones that are specifically actually purchased. So we're almost there already at like 243,000. It's been a week, and I definitely expect that there are a lot of people that are going to be sniping leaderboard spots at the end. So I think it's pretty safe to say we'll go uh, easily well over the 250,000 mark, which is what I was targeting. So yeah, we've definitely beaten my targets and expectations for the sale. And like I said earlier in the call, that gives me, uh, confidence that my targets for the rest of the sale, for the general sale over the next year, are hopefully reasonably accurate. And so that's good. So I'm very happy about the whole thing and how it went. Um, and now we just got to keep going. We got to deliver on the value. When you guys open those packs, I still want everyone who bought in the pre-sale to be like, ah, crap, I didn't buy enough in the pre-sale. um, once the set is released. So we'll see how we do on that. Uh, Regional manager ECO has a question. Will there be 7 days notice to land being live, perhaps via post? Yeah, absolutely. As soon as we're definitely confident that it will be going out, we'll be doing a big announcement post with hopefully at least 7 days notice for everyone. And it's still up on the Mav server, so a lot of people will have the ability to check it out there ahead of time. But yep, we'll definitely do an announcement post when we have a firm date on that. Let's see. Next question is from Macor. League jumps portals in Splinterlands that helps older and new players move up from lower leagues, silver, gold, to higher leagues. Sell these portals as NFT in game shop for $40 with 50% discount by using vouchers, and use one time every season. I mean, well, one of the things is I guess now if you don't play, if you take a break, you stop dropping down. So hopefully there's not that many players who are in the lower leagues that need to jump up and to use the portals. So I'm not really sure how many people that would actually apply to. If it turns out it's something that is would be in high demand, then maybe it's worth it. But we have to be very careful. Like when we build those things, it's like for whatever the work is, it'll always be some amount of work to build stuff like that. Is it worth it for how many players would realistically use it? And I don't know, but you know, my gut is probably not. But maybe that's something we can look into. Um, Question from Marjanko. How many players are now playing in Modern? How many new players accounts did the Rebellion pre-sale bring? I don't have the numbers in front of me for how many accounts are playing or how many players slash accounts are playing in modern. I feel like, yeah, I apologize. A lot of times there are these statistical or numeric questions for the town hall, and I don't typically do a lot of preparation for the town hall. So maybe at some point we can get a list of like data point questions that people want to see in the community, and we could have a little project where we kind of go through and get the data to the best of our ability, and have a data focused town hall or something. So I don't have to just keep saying, well, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I don't know. Um, and the second part of the question is how many new players accounts to the Rebellion presale bring? I also don't know specifically. My guess is not a lot. You know, we don't really have a marketing team right now. The Rebellion presale was for our current players. And first and foremost, like I said earlier, I'm here to deliver on all the promises and all the things we made to our current players, things that you've bought and things that you've been waiting for a long time. Part of that include I know Rebellion specifically wasn't something that players had bought and were waiting for, but it's all factors into us like giving value back to the community. So that's why we structured it in a way that we did with the DAO proposal. So it's I feel like it all goes into that, like giving value back to the community that's given so much value back, given so much value to us over the years. So we have not at all like and purposely, and I'm aware, like we have not focused on new players. We haven't been focused on marketing. We haven't been focused on any of those things yet. I mean, one thing is if we start to get things going in the right direction, with asset prices and value and new features, that naturally is marketing for us, right? When you guys start posting on social media, like, hey, Rebellion's out, and I got all these packs, and I'm get earning this SPS or whatever, and land is out, and your you know land values are going up or whatever it is. Like that stuff is all free marketing for us, and is fantastic. But part of the plan, um, going forward in 2024 is a big renewed focus on the new player experience, and then into how we get new players in right to that experience. Even right now, if we do marketing and we do get new players in, we lose a ton of them because the experience isn't where we need it to be, to get them really hooked on the game. So I want to do a two-part thing next year, is really focus for a time on the new player experience, using metrics and analytics on how we get new players in, get them hooked, get them part of this ecosystem, and then different marketing techniques. I like to try to like work with other Web3 communities. I think that's worked for us in the past, and maybe do like promo card deals with other NFT projects or whatever. We actually had some really cool ideas that I'm not ready to share yet on how we can structure some of that stuff to bring in players. But I don't want to spend a ton of time and resources doing that until we have the new player experience at a better place to capitalize on any new players we actually do bring in. Question from Deus12. Could we get a queue system for ranked, something similar to brawls or tournaments where we could submit our team and move on to submit more matches while we wait? I'm sure we could have another notification for inputting our tactics when the match is ready. Yeah, that's interesting. Something like you could queue up, find a match, submit your team, and then go queue up again without waiting. Yeah, possibly. That might be a bigger development project than we might be able to take on for a little while. But I don't see any, from like a product perspective, I don't see any reason why not. So I don't want to commit to it, but yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Uh, yeah, so that's a good point. Thank you, Ron. Let's end the questions in the chat. We have 30 minutes left. I have no idea how many more questions there are. Um, but yeah, so we'll cut off questions. I'll try to get through all the ones that are already in the chat up till now. Thank you everyone for putting in your questions. Um, Femi Sapiens posted. It doesn't have question in front of it, but I'll acknowledge it. The problem with Wolf's proposal is it is a bad deal for the DAO. If he revisits that, dot dot dot. Yeah, well, so that's I would like the community. If you feel that way, work with him. and let's try to see if we can make it a better deal. Like I said, I haven't really spent too much time thinking over the proposal yet. I had a particularly busy weekend. But yeah, that's what the community and the DAO should do. They should work with people making proposals or wanting to do things, to do it in a mutually beneficial way. And that's something hopefully the Clay would be able to help with, sort of as a DAO representative, if that proposal is approved. He could organize and channel all the community's feelings and sentiments and work with proposers to make their proposals as best as they can be. Question from Dave McCoy: do you still plan to have Land V2 white paper out shortly after Land 1.5 launches? Yes, I 100% do, with the caveat being that it will probably be a draft, right? I mean, I guess all the white papers are ultimately a draft in that they get changed and modified. Um, but like I have something like 90% of it done and ready, and I don't think we should wait for all the last little changes and things to get it out to the community. And I'd like to try to time that around the Lamb 1.5 things. I think it'll really help with the excitement and for people to see, like, okay, Lamb 1.5, while exciting because we've been waiting for it for so long, is not that big a deal from a feature perspective, right? You get grain, SPS, or research. So that might get a little boring unless we show, like, no, this is just the precursor and here's what's coming. So I really want everyone to see that and get excited for it and understand why you really want to get all these things going in 1.5 to get a head start on all that other stuff. um Let's see. Question from Rift Summoner: when will we get Battles 2.0? If undecided, what is your estimated month for it to be released? I have no idea on that. Like I said, we have a very clear list of things that we're working on through kind of the end of this year, and then early next year we're going to try to plan out a roadmap for 2024, which will include Battles 2.0 and all the other things. But until that, I can't say.
Well,
Uh,
I will say on creative side, um, preparing for rebellion, preparing for summoner tactics stage, considering the fact that we might go and look at the slight redesign of sorting and filtering during team building stages, considering how we have the hood up on the car and we're already kind of tinkering. Don't be surprised if bits and pieces are slowly bled into the game and just not labeled as Battles 2.0. You might see the production quality of the game improve on all these little bits to pieces, all of which added up together equate to Battles 2.0. Now, the biggest part of Battles 2.0 is probably looking forward to some sort of cooler animations on the battlefield or sound effects or characters, shouting out a war cry or things of that nature. And yeah, that'll take some time, but in the meantime, I think that Battles 2.0 in my mind is kind of already starting, in that we're looking at redesigning and freshening things up and doing things that we haven't. I mean, the game overall gameplay of the game has not changed. The team building and the battlefield and all this stuff, there's very little has changed in the last few years for that. And with Rebellion and kind of the ripple effect that's occurring because of Rebellion, we're now starting to look at that stuff now, and that stuff might be like tweaked and refined sooner than Battles 2.0. So we'll see where that goes. But I guess what I'm saying is, long-winded way of saying is, well, we're kind of already starting the beginning stages of that already. So you'll see some improvements along the way, uh, sooner than you might expect.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. I mean, that's great. So there you go. It's already it's already starting. And I guess whenever we have the opportunity to release something out, like piece by piece or in phases, I tend to prefer that rather than like just waiting and waiting for one huge thing. It makes it a lot easier. It allows us to iterate as we go. So I guess you'll start seeing some of that soon. Question from VK: what are the chances Cards of Rebellion set get to be played in Mav server before general sale starts? Very high. I mean, that's what we're planning to do. At least a week or so before the general sale starts, we hope to have everything on the Mav server, all the cards, all the stats, all the new mechanics and summoner tactics. And so the player base can really bang on that and get a sneak peek at it for a little. So look for that towards the end of November. Question from Sentinel Ryan 600: When chaos packs run out of the reward pool, what will replace them? Uh, if when they run Once the general Rebellion sale starts, they'll be replaced by Rebellion packs. If they run out before that, then just nothing will replace them until Rebellion packs are coming out. So um, I think it will just those just will not be an option. Like, if there was a 1% chance or whatever it is of getting a chaos pack, that chance will just be taken out and uh, will go towards the other rewards, is what I remember off the top of my head. So there could be a short period of time where there won't be pack rewards until the Rebellion presale starts. Uh, Question from Daru: Can we revisit having an option to gift a spellbook to someone? I mean, yeah, we definitely can. It was one of those things, again, like cost benefit perspective. As we like over the years kind of updated the spell books and how things in the website worked, that ability was either taken advantage of or didn't work, and then it was just used so infrequently that it was never worth it for us to spend the time to fix it and get it working again. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure that that's changed. I know in certain situations people want to gift spell books, and that's the type of thing. Like in the once in a while when people want to do it, I mean, oftentimes they can reach out to the team, and we can just do something where we get you a spell book gift code or something, and do it that way. So I'd rather, when there are things that like are relatively rare occurrences, we just kind of handle them on a manual basis rather than working on building a new feature that needs to be supported into the site. Question from Roland Eden: What are the uses of research points in Land 1.5? That is a good question. Is no use for research points in Land 1.5, other than you will be able to get the titles if you get to a certain point, like certain of the prefix titles. So these aren't the postfix titles. So it's like Vonarch and Overseer and Magister, I think, things like that. So if you get a certain amount of research points within your territory, you can earn some of those titles. But the research points are for land phase 2.0 and beyond. So basically 1.5 can give you a head start on those. So if you're looking for how can I make the most money right away and cash it out, research probably won't be the best option. If you're looking for how can I build up my presence in the game and my value in the game over a long time, which is what I'm personally going for, research will hopefully be the way to go. And and just to be clear, in Land Phase 2.0 and beyond, research is going to be the key component in unlocking the secret of Praetoria. And though it is a secret, so I'm not going to say what it is, but it will be something that hopefully will be very exciting and extremely beneficial for everyone who contributes to it. And the plan is that the more you contribute via research and other things, the more you will benefit once your territory has unlocked the secret. So again, it's a long term play there. So if you believe in the game over the long term, um, you may want to go, as I do. I think that goes without saying. You may want to go heavily into research. If you don't, you may not want to. And I will share that research starting in phase 2 is going to be much harder to get. You're not just going to throw some guys on some cards on a plot with some DEC and research is going to pop out. Phase 2 and beyond of land is going to have a very intricate like sort of supply chain type system, and there's going to be a lot of like core resources that get combined together in different buildings and refined, and research is going to be part of that. So you'll be able to get research much more easily in phase 1.5 than you will be able to going forward. So if you want to do that, you can get a head start um, now, and that's sort of the way it always goes. Like if you're doing it, early on before all of the information is available and all the rewards are released, you're going to get more for doing that sort of blind. So that's the decision you'll need to make there. All right, it looks like I have hit the end of the questions. If you all are okay with it, my voice is starting to get a little hoarse, so maybe we can end this one a little early, and then we will see everyone next week. I think for the town square, which looks like it is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern, which I think would be like 11 p.m. UTC time. So we got a different time zone there. Hopefully, some different people can make it. Thank you again, everybody. As always, like we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be doing this. None of this would happen without your support. And like I said, I hope everyone's as excited as I am and the team is for all the stuff that's happening over the next few months. And hopefully, this is a big inflection point for the ecosystem as a whole going forward.
When chaos reigns and hope is lost, when your darkest days aren't saved by the dawn, we bring the light to help guide the way. We are with you. We are the Rift Watchers. When your enemies have spread far and wide, when you're out of places to run and hide, follow the runes, help is on the way. We stand with you.